I'm Alexis Rocha, I'm in upper sixth, and I've just applied to an American university and I'm going there in September. Stanford University in California. So I chose to go to the US for a variety of reasons. I mean, the education you get there is completely different to the UK. There are so many more opportunities, so many more extracurriculars, and you can choose a vast variety of majors once you're there. So you apply to do liberal arts generally, or you apply to do engineering, or something like that. You don't pre-select your course as you would do in the UK. So if I were to apply for history in the UK, I'd have to just do history for my whole 3 years. Whereas in the US, I apply for liberal arts. I could do a variety of subjects. I could do a bit of biology, I could do a bit of chemistry, I could do a bit of English, and then after 2 years I can choose my major. So I find that if I go to the US, I'll have a much broader spectrum of things to learn, really. Yeah. So the application process is quite long, but it's worth it. You have to first do a variety of SAT tests, which are a standardised test that American universities use to measure up against other students who apply there, because they have to have a level playing field. So you do those. It consists of a math segment, an English segment, and a writing segment. And then you also have to do some subject tests. So they're quite easy. They're generally about GCSE level. It's all GCSE level. So by the time you're in lower sixth doing them, you'll find them people will find them quite manageable. Once you apply, you'll have to do a variety of interviews, and you'll also have to write out the applications. The applications consist of common application essay, which you send to all your universities you're applying to. So that includes a series of essay prompts, and from those you write an essay which is completely different to your UK personal statement. It's not at all academic. It's more about American universities trying to find out who you are, as opposed to why you specifically love a single subject. And then you also write a variety of short essays varying from 5 words to 500 words for each university as well. So I started thinking about applying to America end of year 10, beginning of year 11. So my dad took me to a couple of talks by American universities. They have some at Godolphin, quite a few here. I remember the Dean of Admission for Princeton came here 2 years running now. So we went to those, and I started getting a bit more interested, and I went along with it, and it was just a process, and I just went stage by stage. I just got on with it. But as I went on with it, I discovered I wanted to do it more and more and more. So by lower sixth, I was doing my SAT tests. By the beginning of upper sixth, I'd finished them, and I started writing the application process. So the whole thing's about 2 years. It's longer than any British application process, but it's definitely worth it. Every class or year in an American university is picked out specifically for what each person can offer. So say they have a pool of 40,000 applicants, as most of the top universities do, and they want to pick out a class of 1,700. They're going to look specifically for people's extracurriculars and where they're from, their background, and what they can contribute to campus, because they want to make the most diverse and vibrant campus as possible. So say, for example, the conductor of the orchestra asked the admissions officer, they really wanted a tuba player that year, and they didn't have a tuba player. The admissions officer would go out of their way to look for a tuba player who applied to the university. Or, for example, I know Stanford places a lot of emphasis on engineering and maths and business. I was applying for history, and I sold myself as a history student, and Stanford are currently trying to move away from that reputation of maths and engineering. So maybe they might have thought, we want a liberal arts history student this year. It all depends year on year, and it's so random, but they want to make the best year possible. Most American universities will expect all students to do some sort of voluntary service. The school, Latymer offers voluntary service. You do in lower sixth, and you can write about that. You want to write about it as if you're the one who really push yourself to do it. And then you can also stay on for a bit. Tell them you stay on for a bit. Tell them what you really enjoyed about the voluntary service. What is that you took from it? What do you learn about society from it? So they really want to know what you can contribute to the community, as well as what you can take from it. In terms of extracurriculars, You want to do as many as possible. You want to do a broad range of extracurriculars. They don't want to pick just academic people, just academic and just stay in their room and study all day. They want people who go out onto campus and go out of their comfort zone and try loads of things. So, for example, I'm a musician. I do quite a few music things at this school. I'm in the chamber orchestra, string quartet. I'm in a Latin jazz band. I'm in the LUSO, which is the Latymer Upper Symphony Orchestra. I learn a variety of instruments. I've been learning the violin since I was 3.5, so that was something I could write about in my application. And then I'm also in the rugby team. But you want a broad range of subjects, really. I also did a bit of Latymer Upper Strictly, so that was a dance show they did here, and that's what I wrote about in my application process. In my common application, I wrote how I was a bit useless at first. I was a rugby player. I didn't really know what I was doing. But I learned to really enjoy it, and it sort of showed me going out of my comfort zone to do something I really enjoyed, and then they must have liked that. In the US, they really want to know who you are as a person, so they don't want to know how good you are at a specific subject. They want to know what you can contribute to campus, what you like, how you interact with other students. So a lot of the application process are questions about. They want to know who you are, essentially. So, for example, one of my questions were, describe yourself in 5 words. And that was actually one of the hardest questions I ever got on the whole process. So most top universities in the US offer a needs-blind application. I think that the US has a particular reputation in the UK for being really expensive and inaccessible to most students. It is expensive. The US universities are expensive, but first of all, many universities offer a needs-blind application process. So you apply, and they will not look at what your finances are, and they will accept you or reject you regardless of how much money your family has. Once you're in, most universities, in fact almost all of them, offer a progressive financial aid package. So depending on how much income you earn, they can cover everything from $5,000 a year to the full-blown $66,000 a year for some of the top universities. So they can cover 100% of your costs depending on how well off you are. I know quite a few people who apply for financial aid and they have got it. So, and also from Latymer. So it's not something, the cost should not be something that makes people shy away from the process. I'd say the most valuable advice I received for doing the whole process was sticking to your deadlines, because you've got a lot of things to do. If you're applying to both the UK and the US, you've got a lot of stuff to do, and in 2 application processes which are completely different. So I'd say perhaps start thinking about it early, start visiting, looking at talks or thinking about what you really want to do, and organise the next 2 years so that you can do this easily. I mean, I organised it at, quite well early on. I found that the whole process was, it flowed quite easily. It wasn't particularly difficult. I find the most valuable information I can give someone is be themselves. Because in the essays and everything, the universities are looking for someone who is genuine, who is themselves, and they want to see what that person can contribute to their campus. They're not looking for what someone wants to be. It's who you are. So be genuine. Don't create false interest where there aren't any. So that would be my advice.
I'm Michael. I'm going to Princeton next year. Okay, well, yeah, what's interesting about my application to the US is that at the start of year 6th, I wasn't actually planning on applying there. I was actually thinking of applying to somewhere like Imperial or Oxford, wherever, but I actually found out that US colleges give really good scholarships to foreign students, and so Princeton have actually given me a scholarship that makes going there a lot cheaper than going to the UK even. For the US, you have your Common App essay, which is the one that all the universities see, and then you have your supplement essays, which is sent to each individual university. And I guess what differentiates the 2 essays is that the Common App essay is more general, and you're sort of you're discussing sort of a period in your life maybe or whatever that just helps shapes you. It's very general. It's something that can appeal to all universities, and it's a place where you can showcase, sort of like expand on one of the extracurricular activities that you listed in your application and show them how passionate you really are about something. Whereas the supplement's more personal, and you have to show how you fit into a specific university, but at the same time you have to try and be unique about it. Oh, I did a variety of things, including athletics, basketball, academic mentoring, etc. But the main thing that I did was volunteering. So I did about 6 to 8 hours. I still do about 6 to 8 hours a week volunteering at Oxfam. And for my Princeton essay, I actually talked about that at length, and so I discussed what I learned from it, the benefits of doing it, etc. But what I would say to you guys is be yourself. Try and come across as unique and interesting, someone that will add to the campus life, because academics are obviously important, but they only mean so much, because frankly, you're predicting grades, and your SAT scores more or less tell them everything you need to know about your academic ability. So you should use all the other parts of your application, including your essays and your interviews, to show them how you're an interesting, passionate and unique person, and I think that's the best way to get in.
Fine.
My name is Zara Jen. I've applied for Princeton and I was accepted early this year. I chose Princeton because the idea of being able to do a liberal arts degree is something that really appeals to me, because just narrowing down my subjects for A-level was really difficult, and the idea of being able to go in completely open-minded and come out who knows where, majoring who knows what. Well, you could say I started the application process in year 7 when I started doing my drama tech, because that was, I guess you could call it my angle. It was only sort of in the summer of year 11 that I started really working towards SAT prep, because that's a big part of it, is taking the SATs. But I've been doing drama since year 7, and I've sort of become a huge part of my life, and that then was seen in my essays for my applications. I think it's probably one of the things that really got me in. Every university has its own sort of specific questionnaire, which includes an essay plus other strange questions like, what's your favourite movie, your favourite book, favourite quote, record, website. I think the application looks for a combination of things. It looks for extracurricular activity, but like a passion in your extras, not in something you've been forced to do by your school or your parents, something that you're genuinely interested in. They definitely look for a personality in your essays, in your writing. The two processes, applying to America and applying to the UK, are so different in so many ways. The UK is very understated with UCAS, your personal statements. You're meant to subtly put in all of your academic achievements and sort of hint at your passion, whereas America, you're allowed to outright say, I've done this great thing, I've learnt all this amazing stuff from it. I started tech club when I was in year 7, which I sort of fell into, and then it became my passion, and theatre became my world a little bit. I was the first girl student to specialise as a sound designer, and I've worked on 23 plays at this school. I've also helped with A-level pieces, GCSE pieces, band nights, dance shows, talent shows, and I got a scholarship for 6th form as a drama scholar, and I won the drama prize in lower 6th. Last year I took part in a playwriting programme, which was incredible, and my play actually got selected for the long list. It was with the National Theatre, and I directed my play with people from my drama class and put it on at the OSO Barnes. I went to India and I ran drama workshops with street girls there, which was an amazing experience, and I went all by myself. I threw myself in the deep end, and that was really incredible. And then I came back to London and directed year 7s and plays for the year 7 showcase, so the contrast was quite interesting to see. I've also volunteered at Charity Shop Trade, just down the road, and also at a primary school doing arts and crafts lessons. And I represented the school in the articulation contest, talking about an Indian artist, Jamni Roy. I think the most valuable piece of advice I was given about the application process was, before I'd even really started to think about writing my essays, I was told that to get into a good university in America, you need to have a passion, and you need to be really good at it, the best that you can be, better than everyone else if you can, and then to share that to as many people in as many places as you can, and that builds a really strong essay, a really strong application.
So I'm Oscar Holmes, and I applied to Princeton and I was accepted this year, which is fantastic. I chose Princeton because when I went out and visited earlier this year in September, I felt like I was most at home there. I got the opportunity to go and visit Harvard, Yale and Columbia and Dartmouth as well, and Princeton was the one where I just felt most comfortable being there. The people that I met were sort of the nicest people, and they were really encouraging about the university, whereas at other places I just didn't get that same sense of welcomingness. So Princeton was just where I wanted to know I wanted to spend the next 4 years at. The application process for the United States is quite a long and thorough process. You've really got to convey what you're like as a person. It's not just sort of saying I can do this, this and that. You've got to sort of say what your interests are, what you like to do, and what sort of person and what you will bring to the campus and the university. So in my case, I mean, my application was quite diverse, so I applied through recruitment with rowing, which went really well for me, and so I had contact with all the rowing coaches out there, and obviously I was keeping them updated on how my performance over here was doing and how I was doing in competitions here. But also in the general application, because you have to do it to the admissions board, I conveyed that, I mean, I work with, outside of school, a severely dyslexic child, which I started initially doing that through the Duke of Edinburgh, and I just have continued doing that for many years after, and that's been we've got a great relationship doing that, and he's progressed greatly. And then it's not just been rowing also, but I've also conveyed that I took part in many other sports. I mean, I was captain of rugby for a year here at Latymer, and I've also played in the football A team, and I was also head of the charity committee as well. So I mean, you've really got to show you're a diverse person who's involved within the school, and that you like to attend all the extracurricular clubs and be just a major part of that. So yeah, I tried to put myself out there as much as I could, and I think that really played off in the long run with my application. Well, to start the whole process, you definitely need to be focused on definitely at least laying out and looking at the universities themselves, not even just putting yourself out there for the clubs and everything else, but looking at the universities and making a structured plan at the start of lower sixth, because it's a long process. And in terms of how much you had to write, so in the end I just applied to Princeton because through my rowing, and it was, you have to write one general essay which you would send to all the different colleges out there, and then each university has their own separate supplemental writing pieces. So for Princeton that involved about 500 to 600 word mini essays where you had to try and convey as much about yourself as you can within those parts. And actually it's tough doing it in such a short word frame, so it does take a lot of time to think about what you exactly want to be saying and how you want to be saying it. So yeah, some of the questions they asked were things like what was a memorable experience from your childhood and how has that affected you in later life. I would advise leaving yourself lots of time to be able to prepare for this, as in it's not just something that you can start thinking about in the summer of lower sixth. You've got to really know that you want to be going for America, and I mean it's seriously competitive out there. I mean more and more international students are applying each year, and so you've really got to know that's what you want to do. And so I mean you can start with the whole application process in the lower sixth, but really if you want to make yourself a stellar candidate, you've got to start well down in year 10 with applying yourself to what the school has to offer. So going through the athletic recruitment process, which for me was based on my rowing abilities, you have to stay in constant contact with the coaches. Actually, one of the main things is starting the contact process, which for me was just filling out the recruitment questionnaires on each of their websites, which you have to go find, and you fill out the questions, and then they either might email you, or if they don't, you can send them an email maybe the following week, just saying, hi there, my name is, for me it was Oscar, I do this sport, and I have these scores, and these are my performances, and this is sort of my ability, and you just give them an idea of who you are and what you're capable of. And if they're interested, which I'm sure they will be, they'll get back in contact with you, and then from there on you have sort of a conversation going about your progress throughout the following years, and they just watch how you develop. And as it goes on, and as the process goes on, generally in the summer of the lower sixth, they might ask you to come out for an official visit, which I was fortunate enough to get from multiple places, including Princeton, Harvard, Yale, and Dartmouth and Columbia. And that involves where they pay for your flights for you to come and visit the campus, and it's basically at this point they are very interested in you, and you know that they sort of want you to be attending their university, which is why it's in the rules that they have to pay for your flights and accommodation while you're out there. So you go out and visit, and they basically show you around, show you the best parts of it all, and try and encourage you to present your application to them come the deadline. And so yeah, for me that was a great experience. It really was the defining moment where I managed to choose where I wanted to go, which was Princeton in the end. And it just allows you to get a feel for the universities, which a lot of people don't have that opportunity. They're sort of applying to these places having never seen them before, and I think for me it was key having been out there to visit. So by moving out to Princeton, I'm most definitely looking forward to, it's just the slight change in culture. It's not going to be like the normal thing of just going off to a British university like the classic Bristol or something like that. It's going to be a big change, and I think just meeting new people, I think that's what I'm most excited about from all different sorts of backgrounds.
So my name's Carlo Mole. I was at Latymer last year and I went out to McGill. I knew I was going to McGill for about 2 years before I actually went, because I got a French passport, which gives you a massive grant. So for me it was almost a no-brainer to go just on a financial basis. But when I went out I was so pleasantly surprised, because it is the most amazing city, Montreal, and McGill is top 30 university in the world. So yeah, it's been an amazing experience. People I spoke to, because it's a really international university, everyone's in the same boat, and so we'd have similar conversations about we're missing our family, missing our culture. I think that's quite a big one, especially because I'm into sport. There isn't the same sporting culture. The humour's completely different. People are also so much more friendly out there. So when I turned up, I was quite shocked, and I thought they wanted something off me, but in fact they were just being really nice to me. The best thing about Montreal is it's a mini European city in North America, because everyone speaks French there, and they want to separate. It creates this nice kind of almost tension in the city, which means it's quite lively. It's definitely not dead. There's street art everywhere. Because they're French and European, the food's amazing. So McGill takes 4 years to complete if you're American or Canadian, but because we've done A-levels, or if you've done baccalaureate if you're in France, you get to skip a whole year, which is an amazing benefit, because you turn up kind of in front of everyone else. It means you can take longer to do your degree if you need to, but basically you get accepted into the Faculty of Arts, which means that you can pick between all the different subjects like history, English, all languages, economics, as opposed to in England where you have to stick with, say, English or history for the full 3 years. So you get a lot of, you can change your mind, you can get a lot of different variety of subjects. This is really beneficial to anyone who doesn't know exactly what they want to do, because they can choose different subjects and try them out. But as long as you kind of have a basic idea, say you want to end up in economics, it should be fine. In the first year, I think I picked quite straightforward subjects for my degree, but next year I'm picking an introduction to modern art, some modern European history, some modern American history, and I'm doing politics and history at university, kind of a joint degree. But I can also pick English as a minor, so you have just vast amount of choice, which is, I think, a much better system than in England. If you pick, say, politics as your main subject area, but then because at McGill you've been able to pick all these different subjects, you'll find that maybe you want to go into anthropology or even sciences. You can kind of move to a different faculty if you want. So it's you have a lot more freedom out there, and that's the system across all of North America. So it's not just Canada. No, it's a similar system. So you turn up and go into halls first of all, which I loved, because I'm next to an American and a Canadian, which is the bog standard people you'll meet, and then loads of Europeans, because it's such an international city. So you have all this diversity within these halls. There's so much fun. People are going out all the time. People are working. There's a great culture. People are really, and because Montreal is new to all these different people and it's such a vibrant city, everyone who turns up is really excited to explore it like that. So you have a better work ethic, I think, and more an appreciation for where you are.